Hey folks, it's Rob and welcome back. It's another episode of the Monstrous Compendium Appendix for the Mystara Ascending from 1994. We're continuing on today. We're hoping to do the Frost Salamander right now, and it comes with a little companion animal, so, got that going on. And then we're going to move forward into what are called fundamentals, and that's what I'm hoping to achieve today. A nice set of 3 pages to get through. Starting here on page 43 of the book. I hope your day's going well. It's it's now after Valentine's Day at the point of me recording this. Probably put this video out later, assuming everything goes to plan. And I had a nice day with the wife. I hope you are having a great day too. But if you're not, maybe this will help you relax, right? So, Frost Salamander. As we can see here from the text block, there's also listed an ice crab. So, let's read through the Frost Salamander. So, the climate/terrain is any Arctic. Frequency very rare. They are solitary. Their activity cycle is any. They are omnivorous, of low intelligence, that is 5 to 7. Treasure type E. They are chaotic evil, so, if you don't want the Beckme alignment, just go with evil. Chaotic. Number appearing, D3, despite their being solitary. Armor class 3, movement 12, hit dice 12. To hit AC 0 is 9, which is, quite formidable. Number of attacks 5, which is also, damage per attack is, it has 4 claw attacks, each worth a d6. And as you can see in the picture, it has 4 claw arms and 2 legs and a tail. It seems to balance on 2 legs and the tail. Interesting, right? As always, I'm sorry this is a bit more washed out than what I'm actually holding in my hand. It's definitely bluer. And there's more detail on the chest here, right? It's very washed out. I'm sorry. Now that's the 4 claws. Obviously, we have a 2d6 bite as well with that fanged mouth. Special attacks, it radiates cold. Special defenses, it's immune to cold. Well, that straightforward there. Don't use the cone of cold on it. It also you need a +1 or better to be able to hit this item. And by hit, damage functionally. No magic resistance. It is size large, 8 foot long. It is steady morale and worth 9,000 XP. The ice crab, which I see as the last block there. So we'll cycle back to the ice crab. Frost salamanders, natives of the para-elemental plane of ice, thrive in very cold places. They are sometimes found on other elemental planes and may find themselves summoned to the prime material plane. This creature looks like a large lizard with white or blue-white scales. Its 6 legs end in various claws that allow it to move along even the slickest of ice. Frost salamanders have blue eyes and translucent white teeth that look like icicles. The frost salamander gets its name because so many consider it a cold-dwelling version of the normal salamander, which comes from the elemental plane of fire. Combat. A frost salamander is immune to all cold-based attacks. It radiates cold in a 20-foot radius, causing 1d8 hit points of damage to all creatures within this area. It attacks without any plan other than to rip its opponents to shreds by the fastest means possible. Individual creatures do not coordinate attacks. So, they just act independently and want to kill you. This monster never uses weapons. It attacks by rearing up on its hindmost legs, clawing with its 4 forward claws, and then biting. So this is the rearing up pose. That makes sense. When it gets around, it kind of skitters around on all 6 legs, I guess. Six-legged creatures are also an excellent fantasy trope, by the way. If you don't want to use regular horses, use six-legged ones. Or make them six-legged lizard things instead of horses, right? If near a pool of icy water, the frost salamander often pushes its victim into the water, possibly causing incidental damage from exposure, either during the battle or later. It carries its dead victims into an icy pool or other very chilly area, as it prefers not to eat warm flesh. A frost salamander suffers an additional 1 hit point of damage per die of damage in fire-based attacks. So yeah, you got the old burning hands or fireball spell. That will be extra effective. Functionally, just like a +1. You're not like if you were to roll a 6, you'd inflict 7, right? Not like just like increasing the range from like 2 to 6. Habitat/society. Frost salamanders sometimes leave their other planar home to visit especially cold places on the prime material plane for reasons known only to them or through summoning. Clearly, these creatures hate warm surroundings. In fact, they suffer 1 hit point of damage for each turn they spend in a region with a temperature above freezing. Typical frost salamander lairs are quite cold, near frozen pools or on windy Arctic plains. They bask in chilling winds, the way most creatures relax in sunlight. They enjoy being recipients of such spells as Cone of Cold, too. Items found in the lairs of frost salamanders often have frozen into blocks of ice or have turned into very brittle from the cold. The low temperature almost always ruins magical potions. Melting treasure free can take several hours, and characters should not attempt to carry frozen items without hand coverings. I mean, they will be really cold. If you ever handled even just a snowball with bare hands for a prolonged period of time, you know what the chill's like. But this is, this is an elemental of kind of a cold environment, right? And on the flip side, obviously, it is damaged by warmer weather, a bit like Frosty the Snowman, but without a hat. But it will eat your children. So, some similarities. Ecology. Frost salamanders usually eat frozen meat, but also can eat any plants they happen to find. These voracious predators prefer to avoid competition with other cold-dwelling creatures. The sluggish, bright blue liquid in a frost salamander's veins can be used to temper a frost band. A bone from this creature makes a fine component for a wand of frost. If you're using components, that's kind of like what you're, components are built into the second edition AD&D setting, which is these rules are for. I think they make good flavor for BECMI settings. It justifies the value of a component. It makes for questing if they want to create things. If your players are creating magic items like in their downtime, it's worthwhile to have them work for it a bit, in my opinion. But keep that to scale. A wand of frost, right, would certainly be way more powerful than, say, like a utilitarian kind of light spell, right? So, frost salamanders hate regular salamanders, and the enmity is returned. These two creatures attack one another on sight on rare occasions when they find themselves in the same place at the same time. Now, that would be wild. Imagine all the steam coming off of that. So, the ice crab. So, let's read that ice crab stat block now. They are also in any Arctic climate/terrain. They are only rare, as opposed to very rare. They are also solitary, any activity cycle, and they eat ice. They are of animal intelligence. They have treasure type Q, which means they might have some interesting treasure. Alignment neutral, just pure, true neutral, which, fits the animal set intelligence. Number appearing 2d4 plus 1, despite being solitary creatures. Armor class 5, movement 6, hit dice 2, To hit AC 0, 19. They get 2 attacks, which are a D4 claw on each, claw. Special attacks are Surprise and Cold Touch. They are special defenses immune to cold. They are not magic resistant. Size small, about 2 foot in diameter. They have average morale and are worth 175 XP. Sadly, the ice crab is not pictured, but I imagine it looks like a crab. Let's read the thing. Ice crabs, sometimes found with a frost salamander, always stay in freezing areas too, especially icy pools. Ice crabs look much like normal crabs, but have 2 claws and only 4 legs. Their white shells have pale blue edges. Not only can these creatures blend in well with their surroundings, they are adept at remaining still until prey approaches. This ability gives opponents a -4 penalty to surprise rolls. That's a significant penalty to surprise roll. A successful hit from a claw attack causes 1d4 points of normal damage plus 1d3 points of cold damage. Ice crabs collect only gems as treasure, usually diamonds or pearls. All right. I'll tell you what, the ice crabs are potentially useful by themselves. If you're in a quite frosty and cold environment, kind of situational. But maybe it's like a minor elemental summon you could use. I don't know. Or it could just be an indication of something bigger going on. I think that's how it's intended from the text, right? You're meant to encounter these like in its lair. So this is the our first of the fundamentals, the air and earth, and then we will have fire and water fundamentals, right? And they are basically kind of flappy bird things without real bodies, right? You can see in the pictures. And that's okay, right? We will we'll get into it. Fundamental air/earth, page 44. I'm going to read both stat blocks as we run down. We'll just compare them as we go, right? Climate terrain for the air, any windy. For the earth, any cavern. Frequency rare in both cases. They are organized by flocks. They have any activity cycle. The air one has a diet of air. The earth one has a diet of earth or metal. They're both semi-intelligent with an intelligence functionally of 3. So smarter than an animal, not smart though. Treasure type nil. Alignment neutral. Number appearing 2d10 in both cases. The air one has an armor class of 6, while the earth one has an armor class of 3. The air one, ironically enough, flies. And they both fly, but the air one's much better at it, being able to move at 24 with an A maneuverability, so it kind of maneuvers like a hummingbird, honestly. While the earth one has a flight of 9, still pretty maneuverable considering the 9, but it's a B, right? So it can't just like hover in space and zip backwards and forwards and things like that. Hit dice, 1+1 in each case, so pretty nice, easier creature to defeat for hit point purposes. To hit AC 0 is 19. They both get 1 attack, which is a D6 ram. No special attack. Special defenses are described below. No magic resistance. The air ones are tiny with a 1-foot wingspan, so about the size of, say, like a cocktail, or no, actually, well, the kind of gray ones with the yellow heads, kind of rosy cheeks. Not a cockatoo, well, a cocktail, right? Meanwhile, the earth ones are size small, about 2.5-foot wingspan, so about the size of more like a crow. Morale is average on the air ones and steady on the earth ones at 12. And the XP value on air is 120, while the earth one is also 120. Among the least powerful creatures inhabiting the elemental planes are the fundamentals. Each of these creatures resembles a pair of bat-like wings without a head or body. Fundamentals never cease their flying, not even to land or rest a moment. Air fundamental. Air fundamentals have a wingspan of approximately 1 foot. Their extraordinary thin wings look transparent, while the creature's color near the middle ranges from the translucent pearly white to pale blue. And looking at the picture, I guess it came over kind of okay in this case. I think there's a little more detail to be seen on the air elemental, but it pictures like three of them there, and maybe it looks more like four here, or five, because you have these like different distinct color lumps. But you have like one here, and one here, and one here, right? Hmm. So, yeah. The only sound these elementals make is a whispery hum created by the minute vibrations of their tissue-thin wings. In combat, air fundamentals flock together and swoop down on their target. It is not known how fundamentals see victims, although they may detect their body heat. And remember, you're going to have 2d10 of these, right? Um, Due to these creatures' natural coloration, their opponents suffer a -2 penalty to surprise rolls. So, they may well surprise you because they're hard to see, like, like mosquitoes, or as some people call them, no-see-ums, right? Uh, a fundamentals only attack is a ramming dive in which fundamentals only attack is a ramming dive in which the creature strikes its target with its own body, inflicting 1d6 points of damage. This attack does no damage to the fundamental itself. These creatures can be harmed only by magical or magic weapons and remain immune to mind-affecting spells such as sleep and charm. Treat them as enchanted creatures for the purposes of spells such as protection from evil. Okay, well, I mean, they are fundamentally elementals, because they're fundamental elementals. Habitat/society. Air fundamentals usually appear on the prime material plane in particularly windy places or at the tops of jagged mountains. Characters always encounter them in flocks, and they occasionally accompany more powerful elemental creatures to the prime material plane. So, this is the kind of thing that would enter through like a portal on a more regular basis, right? If there's a natural portal on the plane, and a few of those do exist in the Mystara setting, then you can expect these kind of more basic elementals to be routinely showing up and in the area, right? Unless they're being controlled in some ways. Some natural elemental plane gates are like in around settlements or controlled in some ways, and so that's all setting material. We'll set that aside for now. Sorry. So, as we said, they are elementals, even if they are weak ones. Habitat/society. Well, we just read that. I'm sorry. Just how or why fundamentals come to reside on the prime material plane is unknown. Some theorize that these rather weak elementals find themselves inadvertently drawn into the prime material plane when a more powerful elemental intentionally crosses over or is summoned from its home plane. Possibly, the more powerful elementals send these creatures to the prime material plane for their own unknown purposes. Ecology. Fundamentals, as foreigners to the prime material plane, do not play an important role in the overall ecology of any area. The body of an aerial fundamental can be used to help create a potion of flying. However, when one of the creatures dies on the prime material plane, its body quickly returns to the elemental plane of air unless someone places it in a blessed container within 2 rounds of the creature's death. You can just kind of imagine it evaporating, right? Or fading away. Up to you. Use your own chosen TV trope, right? Fundamental. Earth fundamentals, larger than the other 3 types, have a wingspan of up to 2.5 feet. These very solid creatures boast thick wings of deep brown and black. I imagine you would mistake them for bats unless you were paying attention, right? Especially at a distance, in the dark. Like, what's that flying over there? It's just bats, right? Combat. Earth fundamentals attack with the same swooping dives as the airy brethren. However, their tactic often involves sweeping very low along the ground and attempting to knock their targets over. When An Earth Fundamental gets a 20 on an attack roll. Its victim must make a successful saving throw versus paralyzation or fall to the ground. Fair enough. Earth Fundamentals have the same immunities as Air Fundamentals. So yeah, again, they are elementals, so they cannot be, attacked by normal weapons. Habitat/Society. Flocks of Earth Fundamentals gather on the prime material plane in places where the element of Earth seems particularly concentrated, including tar pits and deep caverns. Ecology. Earth Fundamentals consume earth, gems, and metal. They occasionally dine on the remains of an unfortunate adventurer's party's armor. Yeah, I saw that coming. If collected in a blessed container, the essence of the Earth Fundamental can help recharge a wand of metal and mineral detection. I could see being sent on a quest to capture a body or two, right? Bring it back, put it in this case, bring it back. I'll pay you. Here's some money up front, but the rest of it's when you get back, if you get back, that kind of thing. And here's it. I want to deposit on that container. Right. Let's move forward. Page 45. Fundamental fire/water. So again, we'll run through the block together. Climate terrain: fire, any fiery. Water, any water. I know that was very surprising. Frequency, in both cases, rare. They are in flocks. Their activity cycle is any. The fire consumes any combustible, while water consumes any liquid. Guess it doesn't just have to be water. It could be a pool of sulfuric acid. It would still tasty, right? They're elementals. They're going to be immune to non-magical damage anyway. Whatever. You play it any way you want. Intelligence, again, semi at 3. No treasure. They are neutral. Completely, truly neutral. Number appearing 2d10 in each case. The fire fundamental has an armor class of 5, while the water fundamental has an armor class of 4. The fire moves by flying at an 18 with a B maneuverability, and the water moves at 12 with a B maneuverability. Hit dice 1+1 again. To hit AC 0-19, it gets 1 attack. They each do 1d6 in the ram, just like the other ones. No special attack. Special defenses are again see below because they're elementals. No magic resistance. The fire ones are, they're both tiny, but the fire ones are 2-foot wingspan, while the water ones are 1 to 2-foot wingspan. So a bit smaller, but, not dramatically so. They both have steady morale. The fire ones are worth more XP at 175, while the water ones are 120. Despite actually being harder to hit, and largely the same in the stats. So, moving forward, and as usual with this kind of thing, we're probably going to see a little bit of repeat, but, we're going to read it through. Among the least powerful creatures inhabiting the elemental planes are the fundamentals. Each of these creatures resemble a pair of bat-like wings without a head or body. Fundamentals never cease their flying, even to land or rest a moment. Fire Fundamental. This deep bluish-black creature appears constantly enshrouded in flames. As pictured here, we got 4 of them, right? This is not like one of them with 4 wings. This is, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And we have, I think, 2 water ones down here. All right. So, enshrouded in flames. Fire fundamentals have 2-foot wingspans and occasionally cause small fires when they brush by particularly flammable objects such as dry leaves or paper. Combat. In combat, fire fundamentals flock together and sweep around their opponents in a kinetic whirlwind of activity. It is unknown how fundamentals see their targets, although they may detect body heat. A fundamental's only attack is a ramming dive, in which the creature strikes its target with its own body, inflicting 1d6 points of damage. The attack does no damage to the fundamental itself. These creatures can be harmed only by magic or magical weapons, and remain immune to mind-affecting spells such as Sleep and Charm. Treat them as enchanted creatures for the purposes of spells such as protection from evil. In addition to the above immunities, these fundamentals, the fire ones, suffer no damage from fire attacks. Habitat/society. Fire fundamentals usually appear on the prime material plane in spots such as volcanoes or places where natural gas commonly burns. They always move in flocks and often accompany more powerful elemental creatures to the prime material plane. Just how or why fundamentals come to reside on the prime material plane is unknown. Some theorize that these rather weak elementals find themselves inadvertently drawn into the prime material plane when a more powerful elemental intentionally crosses over or is summoned from its home plane. Possibly the more powerful elementals send these creatures to the prime material plane for their own unknown purposes. Ecology. Fundamentals, as non-natives of the prime material plane, do not play an important role in the overall ecology of any particular area. The body of a fire fundamental can help create a potion of fire resistance. As with others of its kind, when one of these fundamentals dies on the prime material plane, its body quickly returns to the fire elemental plane of fire, unless placed inside a blessed container within 2 rounds of the creature's death. Water fundamental. Water fundamentals bear translucent wings spanning 1 to 2 feet. Tiny droplets of water continuously spray from these wet, glistening wings. In bright sunlight, they appear as fantastically beautiful rainbow-colored creatures, casting pools of colored light all over the surface of water as they skim above. Combat. Water fundamentals attack with the same swooping dives as their fiery brethren. Tactically, these water-based creatures tend to charge a target straight on en masse. That is, all together. All 2d10 of them will just come right into one of them. Water fundamentals share the normal immunities of their kind. In addition, their lack of coloration means that the creatures surprise their foes fairly easily, except in direct sunlight. Opponents suffer a -2 penalty to their surprise rolls. Habitat/society. Characters always see water fundamentals flying above large bodies of water. They are most often found above deep water, particularly oceans and the deepest of lakes. Not only do they consume water for sustenance, they must immerse themselves in it at least once an hour in order to survive. Ecology. The water that composes much of this creature's body can be used in the creation of a potion of water breathing. However, a fundamental that dies on the prime material plane quickly vanishes, returning to the elemental plane of water. In order to use this fundamental's fluid, a character must collect it in a blessed container and mix it into the potion within 2 rounds of the character's death. So, in this case, it's not enough to go and put it into the blessed container. You have to be able to make up the potion pretty much on the spot. So you're going to be given the blank of the potion, waiting this special extra additive to activate it right now. And then you do it right there and then, right? You just pour it from the blessed container into the mix and set that potion to making, right? You go and mix it up. Shake up that bottle. Voila! Water breathing. And I guess that would be handy if you're in the environment where you're going to recover one of those. You know, you'll be over a deep, deep, deep water, right? That's going to be it for today. Hope you enjoyed this. They're interesting, and I can certainly see specialist cases for all three things we talked about today. Well, I mean, actually, we talked about really 6 things today. But, you know, I'm enjoying reading this along for you. I hope you're enjoying listening. Thank you very much for your time and attention today, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Goodbye.